Hey guys, welcome back to Pine Hollow Auto Diagnostics. Today I have something really special. I think it's going to be a great case study. Behind me is a beastly 95 Dodge Ram 2500. It has the big block V10. And customer brought it here. He said he's at his wit's end. He's done Swaptronics, spent a lot of money, and the truck is still acting up. So his complaint is, it's been getting colder in the mornings and it's just refusing to start. Okay, and he says the way he gets it started, check this out. He puts a big old kerosene heater under the engine block. It heats up the engine bay, and then he said when it's heating up, the dash, the check engine light, slowly starts to come on. So we'll do a key on check of the lights here. There it is. There's a check engine light, maintenance required light. Okay, so that light right there, he said, when the truck is acting up, the dash is, dim, and that light is not there. But then as it warms up, as he uses the kerosene heater, the check engine light slowly comes on. And when it does, then the truck fires up. But without that, he said, sometimes it tries to start, it's barely runs, no power. So, he's tried it. He gave me a bag of parts that he already replaced. Let's see what we have here. Sensor. Okay, he said he replaced the EGR valve. It had a vacuum leak. It burned a hole in the intake or something. What does that say? He replaced a coolant temperature sensor. A lot of wear and tear items here. I don't know what half these things are here, but we'll get to the bottom of this. So right now the truck runs great, but we need to wait until tomorrow morning to see when it's acting up. Now my suspicion is if the check engine light doesn't come on, that's a computer issue. Okay, so worst case scenario, he'll need a new computer. Best case scenario, we're going to chase powers and grounds to the PCM. So obviously we'll first verify that we have no spark or no injection pulse, whatever is easier. But I think that's the direction we're going to take. So looking forward to this one. Morning guys. So back to this Dodge Ram V10 no start case study. So it was dropped off last night. It ran fine, and then it sat for about 2 or 3 hours. It cooled down. It got not too cold around here, about 40 degrees Fahrenheit, but I turned the key on just to check what it was doing, and sure enough, the check engine light was not on anymore for the bulb check, and the maintenance required light was flickering, like on and off pretty quickly, and I could hear relay, clicking under the hood. So our problem is present. This morning I assume it's the same or worse. But before going out there, I'm doing some homework. So just pulling up wiring diagrams and writing down some pins, values and wiring colors, so we already know what to attack when we get out there. So I'm going to run you through the wiring diagrams that I'm looking at and what we're looking for. So first I want to look at the instrument cluster, because our main clue right now is that check engine light. When it's on for the bulb check, the truck runs. When it's on, or when it's off rather, when it doesn't come on for the bulb check, then the vehicle does not run. Now we haven't verified this yet, but according to the owner, it does look like that's what's going on. So right now I'm looking for the check engine light. Let's see. Okay, right there, mil check engine. Now it's fed from a fuse and it's controlled. This is what we're interested in. Pink and black wire, pin 32 and connector 135 on the PCM. So what we're going to do is, find that pin at the PCM, back probe it, see what the voltage is. Now if that bulb is not being turned on, I assume we'll get battery voltage at that pin when the key is on, when it's supposed to be 0, turning this bulb on. So here's what I'm starting the recording. Okay, mil, pin 32, black and pink. Okay. Now also the maintenance required light, that was turning on and off rapidly. So I'll also want to know what pin that is. So same thing, you just keep going down the list here, trying to see where this maintenance required light is. There it is, maintenance required. And again, we're interested in the control pin, which is pin 56 on the PCM, and it's a gray and pink wire. So that's what I've written down right here. So for the instrument cluster, that's all I'm interested in. Now let's go to the PCM diagram. And here we're obviously chasing main powers and grounds, voltage supplies, main power relay. Chrysler calls it the ASD, auto shutdown relay. So basically, let's see here. So ignition switch, fuse block, okay. So there's something related to the ASD. It's the ASD relay output. So you can see the voltage. This is the load side of the ASD. So it comes in here and feeds your injectors. See, splices to everything, so that's like a main power feed. And a wire does go down to the PCM, and it's kind of like a sense wire to tell the computer if the ASD is indeed turning on when it's commanded on. So I assume it can set a trouble code for, ASD relay fault. So we'll write that down. Pin 57, dark green and orange. I have it written down right here. ASD relay load sense. Now let's keep moving down the line. There's injector drivers. Okay. There's a main ground right there. 11 and 12. They're tan wires going to this G111. So I noted those. 11 and 12 are both grounds. Okay. Ignition coil driver. And again, we can verify our mil is pin 32, black and pink. We already wrote that down. Let's see, sensor ground. That we should probably write that down. So pin 4, black, light blue, and that's sensor ground. Okay. Now let's keep going down here. Okay, right here, fuse ignition switch output, start and run, pin 9, light green and black wire. That comes from splice 114, And if you didn't know where that goes, you can go back up and hunt around for splice 114, and eventually you'll find it right here. That comes from fuse number 9. It's a 10 amp fuse, right from the run and start position. So I have that written down here. Pin 9, light green and black, battery plus, ignition, run, start, fuse number 9, 10 amp. So that is our ignition positive, basically like a wake up signal for the PCM. Okay, let's go back down. Okay, here we have some good pins to label. 5 volt output and 8 volt supply. And the 5 volt goes to our TPS and our map. So we'll check those either at the sensor or right at the computer, since we'll be at the computer anyways. 8 volt supply feeds more things here: the camshaft position sensor, crankshaft position sensor, ignition module, vehicle speed sensor, and that's pin 7 orange wire. So those right there, pin 7 orange wire, 8 volt output, those are the components that it feeds. Same for pin 6 violet and white, 5 volt output, TPS and map. So at this point I guess we went through all of them except for where's that main power feed to the computer. Did I miss that? No, I didn't miss it yet. So, last page right here, PCM, we have pin 3 fused battery positive. And here you can see it's a 16 gauge red and white wire. So, pin 3 red and white, battery plus fused, and it comes from 20 amp fuse number 8 right here. And the last pin that I'm interested in is the pin that turns on the fuel pump relay and the ASD relay. That's on the control side. They're ground side switched. So you see that's our splice 114 from the ignition switch. And right here it says ASD fuel pump relay control, but I don't see a pin number. I know it says it's a dark blue and yellow wire, and I wish they gave me a pin number. So question mark, dark blue and yellow, ASD control. So I think that's more than enough pins to check at the PCM. So now let's go outside, verify the complaint, start with a voltmeter. I'm curious if the Varus can talk to this thing. Maybe we'll plug it in, see if it's a no-com, which I assume it will be, and take the diagnosis from there. So before we go out, I want to get the Varus all set up to scan this thing. Now it's not OBD2, so I'm going to put in the VIN and see what adapter we need. So 1B7 KF26. Let's do capitals here. 7 KF26 WXSS 2093 95. Okay. Dodge domestic 8.0 liter big block V10 4-wheel drive. Yep. Engine automatic with AC. Connect Chrysler 1 adapter location right side of firewall near computer. Cool. Let me get the Chrysler 1 adapter out. So here's where the Varus shines, OBD1. So there's the Chrysler 1 adapter. Look at this sweet kit here. this guy right here. I guess a 6-pin, and it has a power source, so we'll need to get a separate power source for that, and that plugs into our main wire. Alright, we got the MPV workbench set up here. Let's see, at the computer, here's where it lives, and here's our diagnostic connector, very convenient. Now let's turn the key on and see what this thing does. Alright. Key on. That's it. No maintenance required. No check engine. Crank it. Nothing. Alright, good. So let's go to the computer and start checking our pins. So just for kicks, I'm connected to the DLC, trying to talk to it. We got no comm. That's expected. Codes. Nothing. Kicks us out. Alright, guess we gotta use our intuition now. Scanner's not gonna help. Alright, here we are. I got the little plastic cover off on our PCM, just one connector. Now making sure our meter works. The ground is on the alternator case there. And I'm just back probing the main alternator to battery cable right here, making sure we're showing battery voltage, so we're good. So I'm going to set the camera up here and start back probing those wires, and well, you're going to look at the meter and we'll see if anything's out of the ordinary. So I'm going to turn the key on and we'll start our checks. Alright, we're going to go down the line, starting with pin 3. Pin 3 is our red and white fused battery positive wire. So I'm back probing that. 12.6 volts. Well, let me turn the key on here. Alright, key is on. We have good battery feed, so I'm going to put a check mark for each readout. I'm going to check it off and we're going to go in order. So pin 3. Check, red and white. Next pin is 4, black, light blue, sensor ground. Sure enough, that's the right wire. 3.5 millivolts. I'm going to get a test light and load these grounds, just to be 100%. So see, test light works. The battery positive. I'm going to touch it on that pin, and sure enough, test light lights on that pin. Sensor ground is good. I'm going to check that off. Alright, next one is pin 6, violet and white. That should be our 5-volt output. Okay, we have 5 volts in that wire, nothing wrong there. Check that off. Next is pin 7, 8-volt output. see, that's pin 6. Okay, pin 7 is an orange. Right next door. .4 volts. Okay. 5.4 volts. Okay, that's a problem. So we'll write that down. 5.4 volts, and we should verify this. For example, let's go to our ignition control module, which lives right next door here, and verify that that orange wire is 5.4 volts. Not getting anything on that. I might just unplug it. That looks like. And measuring this pin right here. I'm getting 2.3 volts at the ignition control module. So I'm going to write that down at 3.0 at the ICM. Let's see, what else can we check? Cam and crank sensor, let me locate those and see what those look like. So on this connector right here, I'm assuming it's the cam or crank. Let's see, it goes way down there. Let's just say cam at this point, but 3.1 volts. That is not good. So I'm going to write that down. So I unplugged that connector right there. Now we're up to about 3.4 volts. Okay, very interesting. Alright, I'm back on the orange wire, and now we're down to 3.2 volts. That's a little bizarre. I plugged the ignition module back in. We're up to 5.3 volts. How does that make any sense? Let's see, unplug this. .2 volts. I'm going to dig that orange wire out, do a current measurement on it, see if we have any excessive current being drawn by any of the sensors. Well, actually, I changed my mind here. Let's keep going down the line, because to get that wire out, I'm going to disturb the connector, and that might, you know, mess with our issue. So again, back on the orange wire, 3.2, ignition module plugged back in, 5.2. And we can verify that. Let's go back to our cam sensor here. I'm going to back probe that connector again. See what we have. 5.6. Okay, so the ignition control module, plugged or unplugged, there is a difference of about 2 volts. So that's peculiar. We'll keep that in mind. .6 volts. Okay. Next pin. Let's do 11 and 12. Oh no, wait a minute. Pin 9, light green and black, should be our. See, light green and black is our ignition run start. So, back probe this guy here. 12.2 volts. I'm going to shut the key off, see if that changes. Yep. Key's back on. So, good battery feed there. Next we have our grounds. It's black and tan, pin 11 and 12. Back probe that. I'll get my test light out again and see if it lights up here. Alright guys, test light's not lighting on that ground. Now just to make sure I have a good back probe there, that's battery voltage. Pin 11 and 12. Confirmed bad ground. That's nuts. That would explain why our why the 8-volt reference was off. So I'm going to write this down. We're going to keep going down the line. I know we're on the right track here. So both grounds are bad. That's a great clue. Alright guys, I think I spoke too soon here. I put a nice fat T-pin in there. Our test light now lights. Nothing wrong with that ground. Dang, that was on the right track. Same with this guy right here. The ground is fine. Oh, that sucks. That was going to be an easy fix. Well, let's see where we can go from here. So just to confirm ground integrity, voltmeter's hooked back up to that pin on a T-pin now. I'm sure we have a good connection. Now, test light to the T-pin. Okay, lights up, and we still have, you know, less than 10 millivolts. That ground is confirmed good, so nothing wrong with that ground. Alright, when the truck's sitting here with the key on, I'm starting to notice some kind of noise in here. Whoops. No. 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 What is going on in here? Something's clicking in here. This is bizarre. So ASD relay and the fuel pump relay are starting to wake up, I guess. I want to find that wire in the PCM, see what's going on there. So I'm on the 8-volt reference wire now on channel 2 here, and look at this. Isn't this bizarre? That's not a clean 8-volt reference wire at all. I'll put the relays back in here. Man, they are chattering away. ASD and fuel pump relay. And now, look at that. That control pin is getting pulled to ground finally. So something in here is warming up. Check out the sense wire. Let's see, we are getting intermittent 12 volt signal, so okay. Maintenance required light is still going nuts. And that's what he said. Eventually, once it warms up with the kerosene heater, the maintenance required light becomes steady, and then the check engine light starts to come back to life. And that's when the truck has a chance to start. This is crazy. Wow. So we're gonna have to dig deeper here. Now I don't want to keep the key on and let this thing actually fix itself. So I'm gonna turn the key off, wait for a little bit, do a little more homework, and then we'll be back.